Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an exciting Sunday edition of Jake's Hot Takes. I am your host, the ever-charismatic Jake McVey, and I'm joined here by... Oh, that's right. Okay. Sorry, folks. Matt I forgot. Matt did mention this to me. Matt is actually going to compete in the World Foosball Championships right now. He is a massive foosball player, and I forgot that the championships were this weekend. I guess that explains why I walked into the studio alone. Oh, man, dude, I miss Matt already, but that's okay. We got a show to do. The New York Knicks played the Chicago Bulls the other night with a final score of 111 to 113. Game went into overtime. I'm not going to lie to you, folks. This one was a thriller. The Knicks and the Bulls were going back and forth all night. And with monster performances out of guys like Josh Giddey, who would have thunk it? Shot 4 for 6 from 3 and 11 and 18 from the field. Finished with 27 points. 16 rebounds. Absurd. Who would have thought it out of Josh Giddey? He never played like that when he was in OKC, man. But anyway, moving on to the Knicks, because the Knicks actually had a monstrous game on the starting end here. All 5 of the guys that started tonight ended up scoring more than 10 points. And it just was monster performances out of Karl Anthony Towns. He went 32, 18, and 2. And then another monster game out of Jalen Brunson and Miles McBride. Pretty unexpected out of a guy like Miles McBride. He got the most minutes, I think, that he's had all season. He had 42 minutes, shot 9 for 19 from the field, 5 for 12 from 3. Ended the night with 23 points. He had a pretty good game. I think the future is promising on a guy like McBride. I mean, he's been with the Knicks since 2021, so he has an understanding of the culture, kind of the vibe. He fits in with the locker room, and man, he definitely put on a show tonight. Although something of concern that I did notice was just the striking lack of bench production out of the Knicks. I guess this is nothing that wasn't expected. I mean, the Knicks are lowest in the NBA in bench minutes and bench points, but their highest scoring bench player was Landry Shamet with 7 points. And that is the kind of thing that the Knicks are definitely going to want to be cautious of. And I mean, granted, there were a lot of injuries. OG Anunoby didn't play, and I do believe Josh Hart didn't play also. And I'm certain both on the defensive and offensive side of things, their production was certainly missed. But I'm actually really excited to see how this Knicks team comes together once Anunoby returns from injury and Josh Hart finally returns from injury as well. This is one of those teams where it's so obvious that they are very front-loaded in their starting roster with talent. I mean, you'd be very hard-pressed to find a better starting 5 than Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns. I think if you look at the grand scheme of the NBA, I think that there are very, very few teams that actually have a starting 5 that can match just the raw talent that this Knicks team is bringing to the Garden. The vibes at that game were absolutely electric. New York, Madison Square Garden was absolutely popping. The New Yorkers were going nuts. This was an overtime thriller that this city definitely saw and loved, especially when their boys in blue and orange come out on top. It's always just so exciting seeing it just an overtime victory, but an overtime victory in a place like Madison Square Garden, it's just next level. And one more thing that I want to mention for the Chicago Bulls was, I actually forgot to mention this a little earlier. I know I'm doing a bit of a wraparound right now, but I think it's something that I noticed. The Bulls shot almost 40% from 3. That is really just an absurd number, and I'm looking at the stat sheet right now. Josh Giddey, in his monster game, he shot 6 3-point shots, made 4 of them. Vucevic, Big Vooch, put up 5 3-pointers, made 3 of them. Lonzo Ball had a bit of a rough shooting night. He went 4 for 13 from the field, 3 for 9 from 3. Yeah, sure, he made 3 3-pointers, but shooting 3 for 9, making 130 or 3-point shots. I guess it's technically like the math that you want, but just on paper, it doesn't jump out on the stat sheet. As a matter of fact, it makes me a little wobbly about it. I'm not sure how I feel about that Lonzo performance. Definitely a good game out of him, 14 points, but I don't know, could have been done more efficiently for sure. And then last guy I want to give a shout out to for the Bulls, Julian Phillips, 2 for 3 from 3-point shots. That's 2/3. So definitely a big night. Yeah, the Bulls were getting all sorts of bench production. Kevin Huerter put up 9 points. The aforementioned Julian Phillips put up 12 points. I mean, nobody on the Knicks bench was putting up anything like that. As previously mentioned, Shamit put up 7, but that's not winning. That's not championship winning basketball. Being able to have your first 5 guys put up a lot of points, yes, that is a big deal. Yes, that's very important. But guys are not going to be able to be playing for the entire duration of the game when you start getting to that playoff level physicality, that playoff level intensity. And I'm just worried that the Knicks are going to be stuck in a situation where their front-loaded guys are going to be burnt out from playing too much, or God forbid, injury befalls one of those guys. Because we saw what kind of disruptions can happen without Josh Hart and OG Anunoby. Realistically, this Knicks team should have beaten this Bulls team by a solid amount, but missing 2 of your most important 5 players is just it's detrimental to the team, and the guys that are coming off the bench are not good enough to pick up the slack. So I don't think much can be done of it now. I mean, the Knicks do have an open roster spot that they can use to sign a veteran in some kind of position that they need, but for right now, the goal should definitely be just putting your head down and getting through the season. But during the offseason, the Knicks definitely need to address this bench issue that they have. And this isn't going to be the last time I talk about the Knicks bench, but we will get to it when we get to it. You got to be patient, all right? You got to eat your greens before you get the pudding. So we're going to move right on now. But we're going to keep on talking about the Knicks because I actually want to give a little preview for the Knicks' next matchup against the Boston Celtics. This is a big one. This might actually end up being the Eastern Conference Finals matchup. It would not surprise me if both of these teams end up making it to the final, or to the Eastern Conference Finals. I know that the Cavaliers are definitely in the mix, but this Knicks team is just you give me a 7-game series, this Knicks team versus this Cavaliers team that we're seeing this year. It's definitely going to be a tight one. I could definitely see it being a toss-up, but I would still have Knicks in 7, honestly. And that's not a bias, that's just reality. And if you can't accept that reality, then unfortunately you're probably a Cavs fan. So we're going to move right on. We're talking Boston and New York. In their last 5 games, New York has gone 4-1, with their only loss being to Boston. How funny is that? Boston in their last 5 games are also 4-1, with their only loss coming against Dallas a couple nights ago. Last time these teams played, it was awful. The Celtics completely destroyed the Knicks. I forget what the final score was. I think it was like 111 to like 100, or it was 140 to 101. But regardless, the Celtics laid absolute ham on the Knicks, and there was just nothing that they could do. Even with a Jalen Brunson 36-point game, Jason Tatum fired right back, said, let me drop just as good, but a little more. And he went and he dropped 40. And you look at these two teams, and the truth might have been that Boston just got off to kind of a landslide. You know, they took a very early commanding 11-point lead at the end of the first, and they pretty much didn't let up the gas the rest of the way. Boston is a team that is very good at putting teams in a position where they need to get a little desperate in order to win. They need to kind of make guys play out of their comfort zone. Boston is very good at covering all the bases. So with a matchup so recent, I mean, it was only like 4 games ago for the Knicks, I do wonder what kind of adjustments Thibodeau is going to make potentially to the starting lineup. I know Mitchell Robinson is coming back, although I'm not sure if he's going to be back in time for the game. I do believe OG Anunoby and Josh Hart are going to be active for this game, though. So definitely something you're going to want to keep an eye on for. I think, unfortunately, as much as I like him, Precious Achiuwa needs to be taken out of the starting lineup. It seems like the pressure is just getting to him a little bit. He's not really producing at the level you'd hope for how many minutes he's getting. So I'm hoping that OG can come in and Towns can move back to that center position, and OG can get up in the power forward role, and this team can kind of get back into the flow of things and hopefully take a really good fight to Boston. Because, I mean, in their last matchup, unfortunately for the Knicks, the only bench guy that did anything was Cameron Payne. And look, I love the Knicks, but there are guys on this roster that need to be doing more. I think guys like Landry Shamet can be doing better. I think Miles McBride can be doing better. Cameron Payne, he's done all right. He had a good game against Boston when the Knicks got crushed, but it doesn't even matter because he went and he got crushed. And Cameron Payne has not been consistent either. Don't let one good game against the Celtics fool you. Cameron Payne has not been all that good recently, especially as of late. And so I am very hopeful that the additions of Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart and OG Anunoby returning to the team will allow the Celtics to, or not the Celtics, it'll allow the Knicks to take a little bit of pressure off of some of the guys that might have been thrown into the spotlight a little bit, you know, your McBrides, your Paynes, your Achuas. So hopefully we're going to see a change in the Knicks here, because if I have to watch the Knicks get crushed against Boston as bad as they did last time, I might just turn off the game at halftime and go to bed. The last thing I wanted to mention for the Knicks, specifically against this previous Boston matchup, was the Knicks shooting, because you look at the stats and plain and simple, Boston had New York beat on every front when it came to shooting. Boston shot 12% better than New York from the field. Boston shot 54, New York shot 42. You're not going to beat Boston shooting 42% from the field, and you're not going to beat them. You can beat them shooting 37.5 from three, which is what they did. They shot 37.5 from three, but Boston shot a mind-boggling 48.7 from three. Oh my goodness. Almost one in every 2 3-pointers they put up went in. Every other 3-pointer they took went in. And unfortunately, when a team is having a shooting night like that, there's just not much you can do. So I think something that should be looked into for the Knicks is disrupting Boston's rhythm. Trying your best to use your personnel to put guys out of position, to force guys to play in uncomfortable situations, and definitely do not give any open looks. This Boston team, they know how to avalanche, they know how to landslide. You let Peyton Pritchard get a few shots off, oh, it's all fun and games, and then all of a sudden you're going and you're losing by 27, and it's like, what does this team need to do? And you know, that's the big question. What does this team need to do? I'll tell you what this team needs to do. They need to stop letting Peyton Pritchard take threes. I mean, this guy shot 6 for 8 on 3-point shots. Like, of course they lost. And not to mention, Tatum put up 7 of 14. Tatum took 14 threes in that matchup. And I'm sure New York was holding their breath for every one, because he shot 50% all night. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, when we get back, I'm going to be talking about Victor Wembanyama, the unfortunate situation that befalls him now, as well as the interesting Bobby Portis situation. I wonder if there's if there's an interesting conversation to be had. There's a lot of factors going on there. So I'll let you know what I think about this when we get back.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did. CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
Herring Septic wants your crap. Herring Septic loves taking crap from everybody. Herring Septic, they really don't give a crap what other septic companies say, because they know they're full of crap. Herring Septic has been taking crap from everybody for the past 50 years. So why not let them take your crap? We'll take your crap. Herring Septic does it all, from residential, commercial, pumping, installing, and they even rent porta potties for those of you who give a crap. Visit herringseptic.com. That's herringseptic.com if you give a crap.
The Roma Deli, 237 Myers Corners Road, Wappingers Falls, is your neighborhood family-owned and operated deli, offering breakfast, lunch, and catering options. The Roma Deli has brought a little piece of the Bronx to Wappingers, including fresh-made sandwiches, Italian specialties, and desserts, all prepared and cooked in-house with authentic Italian ingredients. Their large menu provides lots of options to personalize your order to your taste. Vegan and vegetarian options available. The Roma Deli, offering catering that is perfect for any party or business function. Go to romadeli1.com or call 845-297-1200.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, we've been talking about suds left over in the wash. What else should we know?
Soap companies do a great job of taking a wild guess at it, and they do a better job at marketing their product to make money. That's what they're doing. They'll tell you that liquids are better than powders. Liquids are much cheaper for them to produce and ship because they can ship it concentrated, cut it with water at the final mile before they deliver it to the store. And it almost guarantees that you're going to over soap. Most people don't realize this. It's real simple. Clean doesn't smell. If you put detergent in your washing machine and you wash your clothes, and when you're done and you pull them out of your washer, and you take a handful of that clothing and put it up to your nose and take a sniff, if it smells boutique fresh or whatever lavender scent that they put in the detergent, it's because there's still detergent in your clothing.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
All right. Everybody quiet down. I'm back. All right. Let's get back into it, all right? Spurs' young rising superstar Victor Wembanyama has been declared inactive for the rest of the season due to deep vein thrombosis, aka DTV. It is a very unfortunate circumstance. A blood clot was found in his shoulder, and Victor Wembanyama is set to miss the rest of the season. It's just a tragedy seeing a guy that is just so physically talented on so many levels and who honestly has a great mentality. I'm sorry, I'm going to spend most of this segment just kind of gushing about Victor Wembanyama because I actually love what he represents for the league and what he represents for basketball in general. He is just a physical specimen standing at a whopping 7'5". I mean, you couldn't find a taller dude if you tried, I bet. And his play on the court, you'd think, oh, a guy that tall, he definitely isn't, we see this all the time. Guys that are super tall coming into the league take like a Taco Fall or a Manute Bol or a Bol, and they're usually very good at a few things. They're usually very good at rebounding, they're very good at dunking, and they can get scoring options in the post just a little bit. Usually you don't see a guy that tall be able to shoot three-point shots or do anything in the mid-range. It's usually just kind of a run and dunk situation, but that's where Wembanyama was different. And that's what made him so dangerous, was that he was a good shooter. And this season he was taking more threes than he has in his entire basketball career, and he was making them. Now, I think there is an interesting conversation to be had about the quote-unquote three-pointification of the NBA. Mathematically, it is more efficient to put up a lot of threes as opposed to putting up a lot of jump shots or layups. Just mathematically, you take 3 jump shots, that's worth 6 points. You hit 2 threes, and that's worth 6 points. So the math there kind of works out. I'm sure somebody who's good in mathematics can come in and explain the math behind that. But Wembanyama, man, he was just good at everything. He could. I'm saying he could, like he's retired. No, he is very good at everything. He's good down in the post. He can dunk, he can shoot, he can steal, he can block, he can do it all. And it's just very unfortunate seeing a guy with this kind of like specimenness, like this aura to him. Everybody knows that Wembanyama is just next level, and it stinks seeing him go out. And there's actually an interesting potential cause for this, and it's that the Spurs have actually traveled more and traveled for longer than any team in the NBA pre-All-Star break. They traveled an absurd 37,852 miles by plane in total. And this is something that NBA superstar Chris Bosh actually talked about once, how when you're sitting on a plane for that long, because, sometimes they got to go from San Antonio to Boston or San Antonio to Portland or, San Antonio to Philadelphia or, but Point is, they do a lot of traveling and they have to travel for a very long time. And being in the sitting position kind of crammed into a plane seat, because even whatever planes they have for the Spurs, whatever team plane that they have, I guarantee you those seats are not big enough to accommodate for Victor Wembanyama. I am almost certain of that. And sitting in a single position like that for such a long time, it causes blood to pool up in the body. And that can lead to DVT, deep vein thrombosis. So, I mean, the NBA clearly has a problem on its hands. I mean, their larger players are being disadvantaged by travel time. I think the NBA should try and do some research into teleportation. I think that they should try and figure out how we can teleport Wemby to Boston for the game instead of making him sit on a plane. No, of course I'm joking. But it's just unfortunate that the piece that ended up taking out Wemby for the season was something that it wasn't of his own negligence. It wasn't of, you know, the malice of another player trying to cripple his Defensive Player of the Year season, which I am fully confident if Wembanyama finished out the season, he absolutely would have been DPOY. I don't think there's any world where he's not. Unfortunately, he did not reach the game minimum, so he's not going to be able to win the award now, but don't worry, he's probably going to get like 6 or 7 of them by year 10. So it's just always unfortunate seeing a player with an archetype where you know that he's going to be dealing with health issues later down the career already start dealing with health issues. But there is the potential for something crazy to happen. Yeah, now I bet you're all leaning in, right? You're all leaning in to hear what I'm going to say. So it is very likely this season that the Spurs do end up missing the playoffs. They are already not on pace to make the playoffs, and they just lost their best player. So it is very likely that we're not going to see the Spurs make the playoffs, which means the Spurs are going to be in the lottery, and they have a chance to pair Victor Wembanyama with Cooper Flagg and De'Aaron Fox, who they just acquired. I saw earlier today some discussion that it might just be better. De'Aaron Fox is in need of a surgery, and it might just be better to push up his timeline, have him sit the rest of the season, get the surgery now, and then the Spurs can get their boys back together. You know, who knows? A lot of crazy things can happen in this sport. So I think it's definitely something interesting. We'll see how San Antonio plays out the rest of their season. But that's pretty much all we have now. Very unfortunate. Thoughts and prayers go out to Victor Wembanyama, although I'm sure he doesn't need mine. I'm sure he has the entire city of San Antonio praying for him. So we will move on from that. Now we're going to talk about drugs. But not just any drugs. Banned drugs. Banned drugs in the NBA, I should say. Whoa. We're not talking about... Okay, hold on. Let me start over. We're going to be talking about banned drugs in the NBA. Bobby Portis has just been handed a 25-game suspension for testing positive for tramadol. Bobby Portis, obviously a very big piece of that Milwaukee Bucks team, is going to be missing for the next 25 games. Man, that is brutal. And as a Bobby Portis fantasy owner, let me just say, he is completely innocent. Let that man play. But no, the story goes as follows. It's that Bobby was given a dose of tramadol by one of his assistants who accidentally mistook it for another drug that would have been legal called Toradol, which honestly, if you're an NBA player's assistant, that is not a mistake that you could definitely make. But as a person who barely reads labels before he does things with them, I completely understand the mistake. They both start with T, they both end with all. I personally, I'm sure Bobby is furious at this assistant if he didn't fire him, but me personally, I can understand where that kind of mistake comes from. But unfortunately, that kind of mistake is going to it is certainly possible that it will end up crippling the Milwaukee Bucks duration of the season. It's just really unfortunate, especially because in these last couple games, in his last 10, Bobby has been playing out of his mind. He's been averaging 16, 11, and 4, and has certainly been a very important piece. Not to mention his defense. He's decent on the defensive side. The stat sheet doesn't really show it, but he definitely has an impact when he's on the court. And now this Bucks team needs to rely on Kyle Kuzma to step up into the forward position. Good thing they traded for Kuzma, though. I wonder if they knew that Bobby Portis was going to get suspended. No, of course they didn't know that Bobby Portis was going to get suspended, but the team did share some nice words. the general manager of the Bucks, John Horst, said, and I quote, "This is a very difficult set of circumstances for Bobby and our team. He and the Bucks organization respect the NBA, NBAPA, anti-drug program, and will accept what's been handed down. But we 100% support Bobby. Together, we will take this opportunity to grow and will have a better, stronger Bobby and Milwaukee Bucks team. He's an integral part of who we are, a huge member of the Milwaukee community, and we look forward to his return." That is general manager speak for, we're just going to try again next season. I mean, Milwaukee, if Milwaukee was like first or second or third in the East, I'd say they still have a perfectly fine shot at the chip just because they already have that advantage. But in a very tight race for the East, Milwaukee is still sitting at fifth right now, with Detroit only a win behind them and Orlando only 2 wins behind them. So realistically, without Bobby, we could very quickly see Milwaukee fall in the standings. Definitely a great opportunity for some of the teams just outside of the top 6 to try and make a run and raise their position. I'm sure Orlando's going to be hungry for that. Miami's going to be hungry for that. And that's something that you're going to need to be concerned about if you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan, is that, unfortunately, when a guy as valuable as Bobby Portis gets suspended and these teams are now seeing an opportunity to climb in the standings, things are going to get vicious. And I saw a lot of people online talking about how Bobby Portis should maybe not be suspended, but he should have a reduced suspension because, you know, the assistant came out and said it was his mistake. Bobby claimed that it was just the assistant's mistake. I think this is an awful take, and here's why. If you allow players to scapegoat their medical staff like that and say, oh, well, I didn't know I was taking these PEDs, you know, or I didn't know that I was taking these banned drugs, that is a slippery slope, because now you're just allowing any kind of behavior to come out from these guys, and they can just shell it off on their medical staff and get away with it. So I don't see any world in which Bobby Portis' suspension should be lifted or reduced or anything. You need to hit him with the long arm of the law. He seems to understand that. The Bucks seem to understand that as a team, but just a unfortunate situation for Milwaukee and for Mr. Portis. But when we get back, we're going to be talking some more ball. I'm kind of going to go off the wall when we get back, so it's going to be exciting. A little less basketball, probably a little more general talks. I think I'm just going to rant about some stuff, so make sure you stay tuned.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did. CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
Herring Septic wants your crap. Herring Septic loves taking crap from everybody. Herring Septic, they really don't give a crap what other septic companies say because they know they're full of crap. Herring Septic has been taking crap from everybody for the past 50 years. So why not let them take your crap? We'll take your crap. Herring Septic does it all, from residential, commercial, pumping, installing, and they even rent porta potties for those of you who give a crap. Visit herringseptic.com. That's herringseptic.com if you give a crap.
The Roma Deli, 237 Myers Corners Road, Wappingers Falls, is your neighborhood family-owned and operated deli, offering breakfast, lunch, and catering options. The Roma Deli has brought a little piece of the Bronx to Wappingers, including fresh-made sandwiches, Italian specialties, and desserts, all prepared and cooked in-house with authentic Italian ingredients. Their large menu provides lots of options to personalize your order to your taste. Vegan and vegetarian options available. The Roma Deli, offering catering that is perfect for any party or business function. Go to romadeli1.com or call 845-297-1200.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, we've been talking about suds left over in the wash. What else should we know?
Soap companies do a great job of taking a wild guess at it, and they do a better job at marketing their product to make money. That's what they're doing. They'll tell you that liquids are better than powders. Liquids are much cheaper for them to produce and ship because they can ship it concentrated, cut it with water at the final mile before they deliver it to the store. And it almost guarantees that you're going to over soap. Most people don't realize this. It's real simple. Clean doesn't smell. If you put detergent in your washing machine and you wash your clothes, and when you're done and you pull them out of your washer and you take a handful of that clothing and put it up to your nose and take a sniff, if it smells boutique fresh or whatever lavender scent that they put in the detergent, it's because there's still detergent in your clothing.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
I have a question for you all. Rob Gronkowski or Travis Kelce? I think it's a good discussion. I think it's a good debate. And my answer is exactly what you think it is. I know a lot of people have Gronkowski as the greatest tight end of all time, but I'm actually here to prove the contrary. Not only is Gronkowski not the greatest tight end of all time, the title actually belongs to Travis Kelce. Let's get right into it, all right? The big thing that people say is that, Gronk was the most dominant tight end of all time. And look, if you want to say that Gronk's physical might and his ability to hit guys and take hits and things like that, if that is your criteria for who is the greatest of all time, then I think Jerome Bettis needs to be your greatest running back of all time, or Eddie Lacy, because those guys were big and could lay hits and were very, very dangerous like that. And look, I know Gronkowski got a lot done with Brady, all right? 4 Super Bowls in his time in New England, 3 Super Bowls in his time in New England, and 1 in Tampa. And that is an incredible achievement, but I am much less inclined to count Super Bowl wins towards a tight end's resume as I am opposed to a head coach or a quarterback. I just think that for head coaches and quarterbacks, Super Bowls are one of the most important factors when we're determining who the greatest of all time is. But when it comes to a tight end, there have been great tight ends on bad teams for almost all of history. I mean, look at I'll give you a modern example. Look at a guy like Cole Kmet. Incredibly talented, but he plays for Chicago, and he's probably never going to win a Super Bowl. But I don't think that automatically takes him out of all-time conversations. I mean, realistically, I think we should be looking at stats, which is what I do. And if you look at the stats, there is not a single important statistic, except for touchdowns, that Gronkowski does better than Kelce. Kelce has better yards after catch. He has higher yards per reception. He has more receiving yards. He has more 1,000-yard seasons. Man, if you're a Gronkowski fan, let me ask you this. Are you aware that Rob Gronkowski's prime was as long as Todd Gurley's? Is Todd Gurley one of the greatest running backs of all time? But he was incredibly dominant. That's the comparison that I hear when I hear people talking about Gronkowski versus Kelce. It's that dominance versus longevity thing. Ultimately, what it comes down to is there are 2 main deciding factors on whether you think Gronkowski or Kelce is the greatest tight end of all time. A, are you a Chiefs or a Patriots fan? If the answer to that question is yes, you probably think that Kelce or Gronkowski are the greatest of all time. There's really not a lot of in between there. Chiefs fans think it's Kelce. Patriots fans think it's Gronkowski. The world keeps spinning. But I'm trying to look at it from an even more objective point of view. The other lens to look at this discussion through is whether you value greatness at its peak or greatness across time, across longevity. Because Kelce has inarguably been a better football player than Gronkowski for a longer time. And people aren't really willing to talk about that, especially the people that are fans of Gronkowski, man. You want to see a fan base around a player give the minimum credit to any other player at that position? Look at Gronkowski fans. Gronkowski fans will come up with any reason why Kelce can't be the greatest of all time. Oh, Gronkowski never got blown out in the Super Bowl. Oh, that's right. I forgot when Travis Kelce was playing cornerback and he got torched by A.J. Brown, and that's why the Eagles ended up going up by so many points. It doesn't make any sense. And the more Gronkowski fans try and convince me that Kelce is not the GOAT, the more I realize he is. Because the Gronk fans, their argument is as intelligent as Gronk. It is, I go out and I hit things, and I hit things really hard, and that's the discussion. When Kelce is a more versatile, more intelligent, and more efficient player, he does more. And a big piece for the Kelce GOAT conversation is that Gronkowski never played a game without Brady. And when Brady was leaving and Gronkowski, rumors were floating around that Gronkowski was getting shipped out to Detroit, he retired because he knew that he could not play a game, he could not be successful without Brady. And then he ended up following Brady to Tampa. And yes, they did what they did in Tampa, and Gronkowski inarguably had a phenomenal game in that Super Bowl where Kansas City got smoked. And look, if your final crux is that Gronkowski beat Kelce in a head-to-head matchup, then there's really nothing that I can do to change your mind at that point. You already have your mind set in stone because you're using some silly evidence to try and convince me that Kelce is not the GOAT. I mean, just look at the stat sheet. Look at how many consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons Kelce had. And some of these seasons he had without Mahomes. Brady had Gronkowski his entire career. Kelce was in the league for a good 4 years before Mahomes even touched down in Kansas City. And in 2 of those 4 seasons, Kelce had over 1,000 yards. So he has the versatility, he has the statistics, he has the greatness, the comparable greatness. If you want to say that Gronkowski, his 4th Super Bowl ring is worth more than Kelce's 3, then okay, fine. I guess if you do nothing in the regular season and then you perform well in the Super Bowl, we can just make up whatever narratives we want. But I'm going to move on from this now because this whole conversation, it's just, I needed a place to air it. During the football season, I was trying every single day to try and fit this conversation somewhere because I am very passionate about it. I love my tight ends. I love Travis Kelce. I think the top 5 tight ends of all time are Kelce, Tony Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Gates, and Shannon Sharp. And I love all 4 of those guys. I think they're great players, but I'm going to move on now. The tight end talk needs to stop. And we're going to pivot right from the tight end discussion to the offensive lineman discussion. Oh, just when you thought we were done talking about the big men, no. One of the greatest offensive lineman of all time has just retired. Zach Martin, after 11 seasons with the Cowboys, has finally chosen to retire. Zach Martin is an absurdly good football player. I have never seen a player be able to manhandle guys the way that Zach Martin manages to manhandle guys. He was a constant bright spot on the Cowboys' offensive line for the entire time that he played. From his first play all the way to his last, he was a phenomenal player, and I'm certain that the Cowboys are going to severely miss his absence. Just when things can't get bad enough for the Cowboys, they're in an awful cap situation. Dak Prescott is not performing well enough for the contract he was given. CD is clearly very frustrated with the team, and a lot is going wrong right now. They're losing a lot of the pieces and guys. They just hired Brian Schottenheimer. Not a great hiring, in my opinion, although we did talk about that recently. But Zach Martin retiring just means that there is another hole for this Cowboys team to fill. And a personal, well, not a personal fact, but a fact about Zach Martin that I really, really love, just kind of really emphasizes how insane of a football player this guy was. Zach Martin had more all-pro selections throughout his career than holding penalties. Could you imagine? And man, he's up there with the greatest of all time. He's up there with Andrew Munez. He's up there with Will Shield. He's up there with all the greats. And he was just an absurd player. And nobody really is talking about Zach Martin retiring the same way that we talk about a lot of the skill guys retiring. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to my guy, Zach Martin. My favorite Cowboys player by far, and throughout the years has been consistently an incredibly fun watch, an incredibly tough guy, and just an absurd player. And you know what? In general, I want to give some love to the offensive linemen because Offensive linemen are just so important and they're so underappreciated in today's society. I remember seeing the way after the Super Bowl that Joe Thuney got absolutely cooked by the internet talking about how he got destroyed. People got to put some respect on Joe Thuney, man. He went out there in the Super Bowl, the biggest game of his life. He was going for 5, going for his 5th Super Bowl. He got a few with Brady, got a couple with KC. He was going for his 5th. And he played out of position against the best defensive lineman set in the entire NFL. He scooted over to tackle, which is a significantly more difficult position to play than guard or center. He's now played every position on the offensive line. He spent some time as a center in New England. He played as a guard in Kansas City, and then he also spent some time as a tackle for Kansas City. And as a guard and as a center, he was insane. And just because he had one really bad performance in the Super Bowl against an incredible Philadelphia defensive line, I am not willing to tolerate any disrespect. He is not a bum. He is one of the most talented offensive linemen of our generation, and I will sing the praises of him until the day that football is no more and the NFL falls apart, and that is the end of that. I will continue to talk the praises of Joe Thuney. You can't even see me right now. I am waving my arms in the air with how passionate I am for this guy, Joe Thuney. He is my favorite Chiefs offensive lineman. As a Chiefs fan, my opinion on that has a lot of weight. And yeah, this offensive line had some struggles, but Joe Thuney was absolutely not a part of that. So no disrespect for Joe Thuney. I don't want to hear it. If you're talking it, I don't want to hear it. I'm going to cover my ears and go la, 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 la. Anyway, when we get back, I am rounding off this sad, Mattless episode of Jake's Hot Takes with a little discussion about the NBA MVP. We're past the All-Star break, and it's time to have a conversation, so make sure you stay tuned, all right?
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did. CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
Herring Septic wants your crap. Herring Septic loves taking crap from everybody. Herring Septic, they really don't give a crap what other septic companies say because they know they're full of crap. Herring Septic has been taking crap from everybody for the past 50 years. So why not let them take your crap? We'll take your crap. Herring Septic does it all, from residential, commercial, pumping, installing, and they even rent porta potties for those of you who give a crap. Visit herringseptic.com. That's herringseptic.com if you give a crap.
The Roma Deli, 237 Myers Corners Road, Wappingers Falls, is your neighborhood family-owned and operated deli, offering breakfast, lunch, and catering options. The Roma Deli has brought a little piece of the Bronx to Wappingers, including fresh-made sandwiches, Italian specialties, and desserts, all prepared and cooked in-house with authentic Italian ingredients. Their large menu provides lots of options to personalize your order to your taste. Vegan and vegetarian options available. The Roma Deli, offering catering that is perfect for any party or business function. Go to romadeli1.com or call 845-297-1200.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, we've been talking about suds left over in the wash. What else should we know?
Soap companies do a great job of taking a wild guess at it, and they do a better job at marketing their product to make money. That's what they're doing. They'll tell you that liquids are better than powders. Liquids are much cheaper for them to produce and ship because they can ship it concentrated, cut it with water at the final mile before they deliver it to the store. It almost guarantees that you're going to over soap. Most people don't realize this. It's real simple. Clean doesn't smell. If you put detergent in your washing machine and you wash your clothes, and when you're done and you pull them out of your washer, and you take a handful of that clothing and put it up to your nose and take a sniff, if it smells boutique fresh or whatever lavender scent that they put in the detergent, it's because there's still detergent in your clothing.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
I hope you enjoyed yourself while we were on break. Gave yourself a little bit of a chance to get up, get a snack, get a little bottle of water or something like that. If you're in the car, not really something that you can do, but I hope you enjoyed yourself during the break because we're back and we are talking the NBA MVP. Now, the MVP talks as of late have been, and when I say as of late, I mean in the last, we'll say 5 years, the NBA MVP talks have been quite a volatile discussion. The rivalry between Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. Obviously, there's a lot of animosity between Nuggets and 76ers fans who believe that their big center should be the one to win the award year in and year out. I respect Sixers fans for getting behind their guy and being willing to, destroy the city of Philadelphia as protest for not Joel Embiid not winning an MVP, but when it comes to the talk around NBA MVP, I am of the belief that one of the best abilities is availability, if you know what I'm saying. I think that a player is less valuable to their team as the games that they miss increases, Joel Embiid can go out there and perform insanely well, but if he's not playing every other game, how much value is he really bringing to his team? And that's kind of the crux of the argument. You take a guy like Nikola Jokic, who is absolutely a workhorse when it comes to playing games. Another guy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you always see him out there doing his thing. He says it himself. Oh, everything I do is consistent. My whole life is consistent. He is consistent. I'll give him that. But you need more in the NBA to be an MVP than consistency. And I think as great as a scoring option as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is, I think when you look at a guy like Jokic, his ability to score from anywhere on the court, his ability to pass the ball, Jokic's passing is just absurd. The way that he can facilitate an offense and mastermind things, especially as a center, it's just so impressive to me the way that he can create so much disruption and opportunity for his guys to score. And he just gets it done, man. He's just a really talented player, and he's currently my pick for MVP. I know there's a lot of discussion around a guy like the aforementioned Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I just don't know if Shai is cerebral enough of a player. I don't know if his intellect is high enough. Clearly, he has the talent to be an MVP, and I'm almost certain that at some point in his career, he will end up winning an MVP. But if you look at the stats right now, Jokic is just next level. You compare the points, Jokic scores 29.7 points a game, Shai gets 32.5. Shai does have him beat on the scoring side. I will say that right now, Shai is a better scorer than Jokic. But once you look at the rest of the stats, all of a sudden it becomes very, very obvious. Jokic is averaging a triple-double right now. He's averaging 29.7 points, almost 30, 10.2 assists, and 12.7 rebounds, as opposed to Shai, who's scoring slightly more, but he only has 5 rebounds and 6 assists averaging on the season. It's just that I prefer personally, and if you have Shai as your MVP, I think that's a perfectly valid take. But for me, Jokic is a much more versatile player, and versatility automatically means value for a team. It means that teams can run different offensive schemes. It means that they can run different defensive schemes. It means that other teams need to be aware of this matchup in order to fit and things like that. And obviously teams do game plan for Shai, but Jokic just does so many things on so many levels. I am inclined to lean towards him. There are a few other guys in that conversation, maybe somebody like Giannis, but I don't think Giannis really has the everythingness that Jokic does. Giannis is very talented, but Giannis is very talented at a very specific set of skills. He's great at coming downhill and dunking. He's decent in the post, great at rebounding, great defender, but in general, I think I definitely lean Jokic as far as MVP talks go. And that is actually going to do it. That's everything that I have for you guys. Wow, it's pretty crazy only listening to me talk for this entire episode, right? I really did miss Matt for this one. But again, the National Foosball Championship, it's very important that he was in attendance for that. So obviously, Matt, if you're listening, good luck on your foosball, man. We'll have you back here next Thursday. And I hope you all will join me here next Thursday for another exciting episode of Jake's Hot Takes. Make sure you stay tuned. WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. One more reminder. Next Thursday, 12 p.m. I would like everybody here, and I would like everybody to have a good time while we talk some ball. All right. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I have been your host, Jake McVey. This has been Jake's Hot Takes, in case you weren't aware, and I will see you all on Thursday.